Billionaire discovers shocking secret after catching Maid with his disabled daughter at midnight. In the hush of night, the plush mansion seemed to breathe softly, cloaked in an air of luxurious secrets. Yet, within its gilded walls, something darker stirred. Billionaire Jonah Lex was wide awake, eyes darting towards the faint silhouette cast by the moonlight streaming through the tall windows. He sensed it, a pulse of tension, like the frayed edges of a lurking storm. What could be happening downstairs? Curiosity clawed at him. His heart raced against the memory of the past 2 years spent shielding his daughter, Claire, from the harsh gaze of the world. Diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, her spirit glimmered even as her body faltered. But tonight, a different kind of vulnerability hung in the air, a chilling warning about something he had never expected. Creeping down the polished marble stairs, the creak of the wooden handrail felt like a scream in the silence. He reached the bottom step and paused. The sounds of muffled whispers curled around him, beckoning him into a world unknown. His maid, Lisa, had never seemed like anything other than a devoted worker. What was she doing with Claire at this hour? The tension coiled tighter in his chest, squeezing like a vice. As he peered around the corner, his breath caught in his throat. There they were, Claire and Lisa, huddled together in the glow of a flickering candle. It felt intimate, almost conspiratorial, and Jonah's heart thundered with dread. What secret had they woven between themselves? Just then, Claire's laughter broke through the quiet, innocent yet tinged with a mystery that sent shivers down Jonah's spine. The sensation felt alien in his home, a twisted sense of betrayal. His daughter deserved joy, but at what cost? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, and then it happened. Claire leaned closer, her voice a whisper. What are we going to do about the moonstone, Lisa? It's going to reveal everything. Jonah's stomach dropped, confusion mingling with fear. Moonstone. What on earth were they talking about? As adrenaline surged, he stepped out from the shadows, ready to confront them, blaring questions ready to spill. But as their faces turned towards him, a sudden silence suffocated the air, tightening the tension unbearably. Secrets sparkled in their eyes, leaving his heart racing. What were they hiding? More importantly, what did Claire know that he didn't? Jonah stood frozen in the doorway, the weight of uncertainty heavy on his chest. Lisa's expression shifted from surprise to a determined resolve, while Claire's wide eyes flared with panic. The trio shared a fraught moment in the flickering candlelight, the shadows dancing around them like specters of their secrets. What do you know about the moonstone? Jonah demanded, each word sharper than a blade. The tension crackled between them, a live wire threatening to snap. Claire opened her mouth to answer, but Lisa raised a hand, silencing her. Mr. Lex, please, this isn't what it looks like. Her voice trembled, but Jonah was beyond patience. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been plotting behind my back with my daughter. His fury simmered just below the surface, a rage fueled by parental protectiveness and frustration. We were going to tell you, Claire stammered. It's about the stone, Dad. It's important. Jonah clenched his fists, making the polished marble walls around him feel even colder. Important? What could possibly be important enough for you to keep from me? Lisa stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't understand. The moonstone has power that could change everything for Claire. His mind reeled. Moonstone. Power. The words spun around him like a tornado, but none of it made sense. What are you talking about? Claire took a deep breath, her expression shifting from fear to determination. It's believed to have healing properties. Lisa found out that it could help me walk again. Every breath Jonah took felt like a lead weight in his lungs. Healing properties. Every doctor's visit, every therapy session flashed in his mind the endless hope and despair. Could this stone be their miracle, their escape from the crippling shadow of muscular dystrophy? But how? Jonah's voice softened, just enough to hear the tremor. Where did you even find it? Lisa bit her lip, glancing toward Claire, as if weighing the consequences of revealing too much. It's not just any stone, she said. It was hidden in the old library, behind some dusty books. I wasn't supposed to find it, but it called to me. And then Claire and I discovered what it could do. Jonah staggered slightly, the walls feeling like they were closing in. So you've been what? Dreaming up some fairy tale? You think this stone will give Claire back her legs? No. It's real. Claire interjected, her eyes fierce. I believe it. We just need to figure out how to harness its power. I can feel it, Dad. Jonah's heart twisted in conflicting emotions, hope and skepticism, fear and wonder. Could this be the key to restoring Claire's independence? Could a simple stone alter their lives in ways he had desperately longed for? A sudden crash interrupted their heated exchange. Jonah whipped around, adrenaline flooding his system. The sound had come from the direction of his study. What was that? He gasped, instinctively stepping in front of Claire and Lisa, feeling the protective instinct surge through him. Maybe someone else is after the moonstone. Claire's voice trembled, fear threading through her words. Jonah felt the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. Stay behind me, he ordered, instinct kicking into overdrive. As logic flew out the window, the reality of the situation barreled into his mind. There was more at play here than he had ever anticipated. Heart pounding, he moved towards the door, ready to confront whatever shadow lurked in the dark. We'll deal with this later, he promised, but as he pushed through the doorway, uncertainty loomed larger than any threat he might face. What had they awakened with their whispers of power and healing? His resolve hardened, but a chilling thought nudged at the edge of his mind. What if the stone wasn't just a blessing, but a curse waiting to unfold? Jonah's heart raced again as he stepped over the threshold into the murky depths of dread. Whatever was waiting for him on the other side might change everything, not just for him, but for Claire too. How far would he go to protect her? And what if the answers he sought were more dangerous than he ever imagined? The study was dim, filled with the scent of old leather and dusty shelves, but Jonah's heart beat rapidly, echoing in his ears. Each step felt like moving through water, thick and heavy. He strained to hear anything beyond the faint crackle of the candles flickering behind him. Is anyone there? He called out, but his voice cracked, revealing his fear. The silence that followed answered him more than words could. Claire and Lisa stood behind him, their faces pale in the flickering light. Dad, be careful, Claire whispered, a tremor in her voice. She was scared, and so was he. A sudden thud came from across the room, and Jonah's instincts kicked in. He rushed forward, crossing the threshold into the study. The shadows seemed to grow darker, reaching out like fingers. Duck! He yelled, just as a figure lunged at him from behind the desk. It was a man, scruffy, wild-eyed, and wearing dirt-stained clothes that made him look like he belonged on the streets. Not in this elegant home. Jonah sidestepped, feeling adrenaline surging through him. With a quick reach, he grabbed the nearest object, a heavy paperweight, and swung it hard. It connected with the man's shoulder, sending him sprawling back onto the floor with a grunt. Who the hell are you? Jonah demanded, his breath coming fast. The intruder scrambled to his feet, eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. I'm not here to hurt anyone. He panted, but he looked ready to bolt. There was desperation etched on his face, a fear Jonah recognized all too well. Then why are you in my house? Jonah pressed, stepping closer, keeping his stance steady. The defensiveness of a father protecting his child surged within him. I was looking for the moonstone, the man admitted, his voice a mix of shame and urgency. I thought it was here. I need it. What do you know about the moonstone? Jonah's mind raced. Could this man be tied to Claire's hope, or was he just a danger lurking in their home? Please, you don't understand. It's not just a stone. The man looked pleadingly at Jonah. It's a key to something much bigger. If it falls into the wrong hands. He trailed off, and Jonah could see his fear mirrored in his eyes, the same dread that gripped him when he thought of Claire's future. Behind Jonah, Claire stifled a gasp. What do you mean? What's so special about it? The intruder straightened, urgency making his voice tremble. The moonstone has the power to heal, yes, but it's also dangerous. People will kill for it. You don't know what you're messing with. Jonah's gut twisted. Was this man warning them, or was he just trying to manipulate the truth to his advantage? And how do you know all this? Jonah demanded. The intruder hesitated, his face shifting from urgency to fear. I just know, all right. I've seen what it can do and what others will do to get it. The tension in the room thickened. Jonah's fingers clenched around the paperweight, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily against his chest. Are you in danger? Claire asked, stepping towards the man, her curiosity overpowering her fear. Jonah's heart sank. Her desire to help had glossed over the danger. The only danger is in holding on to the stone, the man said, his voice low. You're inviting trouble. I didn't mean to break in. I just wanted to warn you. A sudden crash echoed from downstairs, breaking the fragile thread of calm. Jonah's heart skipped. The house was filled with shadows, and he wasn't sure if they were the only ones who knew of the moonstone's existence. Stay close. He shouted, ushering Lisa and Claire behind him as he moved toward the door. The fear was overwhelming, but he had to protect them. The man tugged at Jonah's sleeve. You need to find out who else is looking for it. They'll come for you. Jonah stared into the man's eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility crushing him. What if I don't want to? Then you gamble with your daughter's life, the stranger said, a dark urgency coloring his tone, the flickering lights reflecting off his wild eyes. As Jonah turned to face whichever threat awaited them, the question hung in the air: how much further would he go to protect Claire? How deep into danger would the quest for hope lead him? And what secrets were still waiting in the dark corners of his home? Jonah flung open the study door, the air thick with tension and the unsettling feeling that their lives were about to change forever. The crash from downstairs reverberated through the hall, a chilling reminder that they were not alone. Stay right behind me, he directed Claire and Lisa, trying to mask his own fear with authority. They huddled close, fear etching their features. Jonah took a deep breath, focusing his mind. The unknown was prowling just out of sight. That he edged down the hallway, heart pounding, listening for any movement. Shadows flickered in the corners of his vision, twisting at the edges of his perception. The house that had always offered comfort now felt like a trap, each creak of the floorboards resonating ominously. At the foot of the stairs, the loud crash had been replaced by what sounded like muffled voices. Jonah's mind raced. Who were they? Were they friends or foes? He felt the familiar surge of protectiveness for his daughters bubble up, threatening to boil over. Claire's voice broke the silence, a whisper that held both fear and something deeper: curiosity. What if they want the moonstone, too? His heart sank. What she hinted at was too real, too dangerous. We'll figure it out together, he replied, mustering courage he didn't fully feel. He motioned for them to stay put, then crept toward the staircase. Each step felt monumental, laden with dread. As he reached the bottom, the voices grew louder, lively and heated. He pressed himself against the wall, straining to hear. It can't just disappear. You have to find it. A woman's voice, sharp and demanding. She said she hid it somewhere no one would look. We can't risk going back without it. Came the reply, a man's low growl that made Jonah's skin crawl. Panic stirred. They were not discussing trinkets, they were hunting for the moonstone. And Jonah was certain their intentions weren't noble. He glanced back up the stairs, seeing Claire tightly gripping Lisa's hand, both brimming with fear. With a sinking feeling, Jonah realized that this was at the moment of decision. Should he confront them, risking everything? Or should he retreat for safety? An urgent whisper broke through his thoughts. "Please, let me handle this." It was the intruder, the wild-eyed man, emerging from the study as if he had read Jonah's mind. "I know how to distract them. You get your daughters to safety." "No way." Jonah shook his head, stubborn and protective. "I'm not leaving." The man grabbed Jonah's arm, eyes pleading. "Listen. I've tangled with these people before. They won't hesitate to hurt anyone who stands in their way. I can create a diversion. Time is critical." Jonah's chest tightened at the desperation showing on the stranger's face. It was a risk, but he could feel the shadows of danger creeping closer. "All right. But we'll stick together." The intruder nodded and darted towards the hallway, leaning out for a quick moment. Jonah exchanged a panicked look with Claire and Lisa before the sound of chaos erupted. The man let out a loud, mocking shout, drawing attention. Jonah took a breath. Now. He ushered his daughters back toward the staircase, the pulse of the moment driving him forward, but as they ascended, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed up the stairs, heavy and determined. Jonah's heart raced. They were being pursued. "Damn it!" Jonah hissed, lunging for the nearest door as he pulled Claire and Lisa through it. They stumbled into a darkened room, the air thick with dust and secrets. "Dad, what are we going to do?" Claire trembled, her voice trembling. "Shoo." Jonah pressed a finger to his lips, straining to listen. The footsteps paused, then resumed outside the door. They were close. Jonah's mind raced faster than his heart. This wasn't just about the moonstone anymore, this was about survival. He needed a plan. "We wait here. When it's clear, we make a run for it." His resolve hardened, but the lurking threat weighed heavy. Jonah caught sight of something glinting on a shelf in the corner, a remnant of the past. Whatever it was, could it be the answer they needed? But as the door handle turned slowly, the mystery grew more daunting. What lay on the other side? Would they be safe, or was it just a trap, waiting to spring? Jonah knew they had seconds before everything would shatter. "Get ready," he whispered urgently, eyes fixed on the door as it creaked open, and in that moment of uncertainty, Jonah understood that the truth, along with danger, was barreling toward them with reckless force. Were they about to uncover answers or lose everything forever? The door swung open with an eerie creak, revealing not the chaos Jonah had braced for, but a figure cloaked in darkness. A tall woman stood framed in the doorway, her features mostly obscured by shadow. Jonah's heart surged into his throat. He could barely breathe. "Who are you?" he hissed, instinctively positioning himself in front of Claire and Lisa as they shrank back against the wall. The woman regarded him with a cool, almost amused stare. "You're the one keeping the moonstone safe," she stated, her voice eerily calm amidst the tension. Jonah felt a flush of anger. Fear quickly morphed into protectiveness, a primal urge flooding through him. "Get away from my daughters," he spat, gnashing his teeth as he mentally prepared himself to defend them with everything he had. "Oh, please," she scoffed, waving a hand dismissively. "I'm not interested in them, just what you're supposed to be guarding. The stone is imperative. Hand it over, and we'll let you walk away." Jonah felt a surge of defiance. "I'll never let you have it." Behind him, Claire's grip tightened on Lisa's arm. She whispered, "What if she means it? What if they hurt us?" Before Jonah could reply, the heavy footsteps lingered right outside. Another voice called, low and threatening. "We know you're in there, Jonah. We just want the moonstone. Make this easy on yourself." Jonah's heart raced. He glanced around the room, searching for an escape route. The window was too high, and the way out was blocked by the formidable woman in the doorway. "Get in the corner," he murmured to his daughters, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. "Stay quiet." Just as they obeyed, the woman raised her own weapon, a sleek, polished gun that glimmered in the half-light. "Time is running out. I suggest you think carefully about your next move." Jonah felt the weight of despair settle in his chest. He could feel the walls closing in. The stakes were no longer just about him, they were about Claire and Lisa's safety. It was a tangible pressure, one he could scarcely bear. Without warning, a noise erupted from down the hallway, a loud crash, followed by shouts. The distraction was unexpected, but Jonah seized on it. "Claire, Lisa, now!" he shouted, propelling them past the woman and into the hallway. The woman spun on them, shocked. Jonah surged forward, adrenaline pumping hard through his veins. They darted past her, the weight of the moment pushing them ahead. They stumbled down the narrow corridor, breaths coming sharp and quick. "Which way?" Claire squeaked, panic tinging her voice. "Any way but back." Jonah grunted, making a split-second decision. He turned to the right, hoping desperately that whatever lay at the end of the hall would be better than the horror chasing them. As they dashed deeper into the house, the voices grew louder, filled with anger. Jonah's heart thrummed in his ears. They were close, too close. Then, from deeper within, a sound echoed, the crash of furniture, followed by a dark laugh that sent chills racing down Jonah's spine. "They think they can hide." The voice sneered, so familiar and terrifying. Jonah froze. He recognized that voice. It belonged to someone from his past, someone he hoped never to see again. Panic flooded through him, remembering the turmoil that had once wrapped his family in shadows. "Run!" he shouted, shoving his daughters ahead. They were seconds away from being caught, but as they rounded a corner, Jonah caught a glimpse of a door marked with a faded red sign. It seemed like a chance to escape. Yet, he knew that crossing through it could lead them straight into lightning or salvation. The door was ajar. Jonah hesitated, glancing back down the hall. The voices were growing nearer, the footsteps echoing like approaching thunder. "Is this it?" Claire breathed, her wide eyes reflecting growing terror. "Only one way to find out," he said, gripping the handle. Would it be a way out or another part of the trap? As he pushed the door open wider, a sudden chill swept through the air, and the world beyond seemed ready to swallow them whole. Jonah knew. Danger was breathing down his neck. What awaited them on the other side? Would they find safety or an even darker secret? The choice loomed heavy, hanging like the unresolved tension in the air around them. And as the door creaked its final protest, they stepped into the unknown. The door swung wide, and the air rushed in, cold and heavy with the scent of damp earth mixed with something metallic. Jonah ushered Claire and Lisa through first, his heart racing. The dim light from a flickering bulb overhead illuminated a narrow, dark staircase leading down into what felt like an abyss. A sense of dread hung thick in the air, but they had no choice. Behind them, the voices grew louder, and the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway. "Jonah, are we safe?" Claire whispered, her voice trembling. Jonah squeezed his daughter's shoulders. "We'll be okay, I promise. Just stick close to me." As they descended the stairs, the darkness enveloped them, swallowing the light from the doorway above. Each step creaked ominously under their weight, and Jonah's pulse quickened. The fearful whispering from upstairs faded but was replaced by the unsettling sound of dripping water. It echoed ominously, threading through the silence like a heartbeat of some unseen creature. Suddenly, Jonah spotted a flicker of light at the bottom of the staircase. Heart pounding, he rushed down, pulling Claire and Lisa behind him. They emerged into a small, dusty room. The space was dim, lit only by a single bulb hanging reluctantly from the ceiling. Old, rotting crates were stacked against the walls. It felt like a forgotten cave, alive with secrets. "Where are we?" Lisa asked, her tiny voice barely a whisper. Jonah scanned the area. It was a dead end. "I don't know," he admitted, the taste of fear thick in his mouth. But we need to be quiet. He moved toward a rickety old shelving unit and crouched down, gesturing for Claire and Lisa to join him. They obeyed, squeezing into the dark corner, the musty scent of mold wrapping around them. As Jonah listened, the whispers from above grew louder, curled around them like smoke. "Jonah!" The familiar voice sent a jolt through him. "I told you, you can't hide from me forever." Jonah's mind raced. Why had that voice haunted his past? A face, twisted with rage, filled his thoughts in a flash, a face he had tried to forget. "Why does he sound closer?" Claire whispered, trembling beside him. "Because he is," Jonah replied through clenched teeth as he fought back the dread swelling inside. "Stay down." Suddenly, shadows moved across the room, dark figures just beyond their hiding place. A door creaked open, and the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps thudded against the dusty floor. Jonah's blood ran cold. They had come down to escape, only to walk into another trap. "Search this place. He can't have gone far." The voice echoed, now layered with impatience. Jonah's chest tightened as he felt a lump rise in his throat. They were trapped, and the figures were closing in. Thoughts of what could happen if they were discovered flooded his mind. A sudden flash of light pierced through the dimness, sweeping over the crates and revealing the determined faces of men Jonah had known long ago, linked to his past in ways he wished he could forget. "We can't let them take the stone," he murmured, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on him. Then something rustled behind them. He turned his head just in time to see a shadow dart across the room. Someone was lurking in the dark. Jonah's heart raced again, but this time it was a different kind of fear. "Get ready to move," he whispered, gripping his daughter's shoulders tightly, adrenaline surging. They all tensed, ready for whatever happened next. Was it an enemy, ally, or another dark twist in a nightmare they couldn't wake from? Jonah felt the grip of desperation. This hidden room held countless mysteries, and they might unveil something that could save or doom them. With one final breath, Jonah prepared to leap out of their hiding place into the unknown darkness, ready to confront whatever awaited them. But would that lead them to freedom or deeper into peril? Jonah counted to 3, his heart pounding in sync with an unseen clock, ticking down the moments until discovery. As the shadow flitted closer, he felt Claire clench his arm, her small fingers digging into his skin, desperate and wide-eyed. "On 3, he whispered, steadying his breath. They needed a plan. 1, 2, 3. With practiced urgency, Jonah shot out of the cramped corner, pulling Claire and Lisa with him. The bulb flickered, casting erratic shadows as Jonah took in the space. The men in the room had their backs turned, focused on another area, but Jonah's heart dropped as he noticed their weapons glinting ominously in the sparse light. "Over there." One of the shadowy figures called out, pointing toward the entrance. Jonah cursed under his breath. They hadn't bought themselves much time. The girls huddled close, fear etched across their faces. Jonah's mind raced. He needed to distract them, to buy just a few seconds for the girls to dart past. Swallowing hard, he shouted, "Hey! Over here!" The men turned, startled but alarmed, eyes narrowing at the sight of Jonah and his daughters. Panic surged through Jonah as he locked eyes with one of them. The face was familiar, twisted with old grievances. "Jonah! You thought hiding in the dark could save you?" The voice dripped with disdain, causing Jonah's resolve to waver. "Run!" Jonah barked, surprising even himself with the sudden fierceness of his command. Claire and Lisa darted past him, moving like shadows into the darkness, but he froze, edged with terror. They couldn't see what lay ahead. The leader of the group charged forward, a menacing figure with a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "You think you can escape? We have everything we need. The stone's power is too strong for you." Jonah's pulse quickened. He had no idea what kind of power they were talking about. "Leave my kids out of this," he shouted, stepping in front of them instinctively. "Kids?" The man laughed, a cruel sound that sent a chill down Jonah's spine. Oh Jonah, you really don't know, do you? Your children are more connected to our plans than you can imagine. Jonah felt that familiar lump rising again. The implications coiled around him, squeezing tighter. What are you talking about? Before he could process more, he heard a loud scuffling. Lisa had tripped over a crate in her hurry. Lisa! Jonah's voice cracked, electrifying the air. The men turned their attention, laughter mingling with mockery. Jonah saw Lisa on the floor, clinging to Claire, both wide-eyed and frozen in fear. In that moment, fury ignited within him. He sprang into action, pushing past the dark figures, his fists clenched and heart pounding. Get away from them! He shouted, launching himself at the nearest man. A struggle ensued, tipping the balance of control. Jonah fought, a whirlwind of desperation and adrenaline, praying the chaos could give his daughters a chance to escape. Let them go! He cried, his breath heavy with the weight of his pleas. A fist connected with his jaw, sending him crashing into a crate. Pain surged through him, but Jonah pushed through, feeling the fire of protection flare within. The world blurred into a haze of frantic movements, a strange rhythm beating underneath the sounds of scuffling. In this maelstrom, Jonah caught a glimpse of the entrance. The open door was just a few meters away. Could they reach it? Would the shadows close in before freedom could be grasped? Pressing down his fear, he again oriented toward his girls, fighting with every ounce of strength for their safety. Claire! Lisa! Run now! He shouted, hoping the urgency of his voice would carry them out. But even as they edged toward the light, a chilling voice overshadowed the moment. You can't escape Jonah. Not now. Not ever. The air thickened with treachery, and as Jonah turned back to confront the men, he felt the ground shift beneath him, leaving him wondering if this battle would be the last they'd face or if something darker loomed on the horizon. Jonah felt a surge of adrenaline that pushed him to his feet. He glanced at the girls, their wide eyes reflecting terror. Confusion sparked a desperate strength in him. He had to shield them, no matter the cost. Claire! Lisa! Move! He commanded again, turning back to face the men, his fists still clenched tight. In the chaos, time slowed, stretching like the shadows around him. One of the men, a brute with a scar running down his cheek, advanced, hands splayed like claws. Jonah swung first, the punch landing squarely on the man's jaw. Satisfaction coursed through him, but it was short-lived as the scar-faced man quickly retaliated, fists crashing into Jonah's side. Pain exploded, but Jonah remained standing, fueled by an unwavering instinct to protect his daughters. Get out! He screamed again as he caught sight of movement from Lisa. She tugged at Claire, both girls inching toward the door. The flickering bulb cast demonic shapes, distorting their escape route. Jonah knew they didn't have much time. But the men regrouped, their laughter ricocheting off the grimy walls like bullets. You think you can save them? The leader, with iron-gray hair and a cruel smile, closed in. They're already ours. The power they carry. He trailed off, eyes glinting with obsession. Jonah's heart thudded in his chest, bullets of fear lancing through him. What did they want with his girls? What power? The girls were almost to the door when one of the men grabbed Lisa by the arm. Nice try, kid. He guffawed, his grip vice-like. No. Jonah howled, desperation clawing at his throat. In one furious motion, Jonah propelled himself forward. He slammed into the man with Lisa, his momentum sending them both crashing to the ground. Lisa tumbled free, scrambling to her sister. Jonah's thoughts were a cyclone. Get them out, keep them safe. The leader sneered down at Jonah, cheeks twitching with anticipation. You think that strength can save you? You have no idea what you're up against. He stepped back, motioning to the others. Show him. Jonah felt the weight of impending doom settle over him. The men split, creating space that revealed glowing stones embedded in their hands. Pulsating with some dark energy, they radiated power Jonah couldn't comprehend. They were not just thugs, they were something more, something deadly. "Get out!" Jonah shouted once more, gasping for breath. Claire tugged on Lisa's sleeve, her voice tremulous. "We need to go, Dad." But Jonah was already charging. The compulsion to fight surged through him. It was raw, like fire igniting his bones. With every ounce of strength, he hurled himself at the man who held the stone. The impact felt bone-rattling, knocking the air from his lungs as they crashed together, wrestling for control. Suddenly, Jonah caught a glint out of the corner of his eye and his heart sank. One of the men aimed a weapon at Claire. "Stop!" he shouted. And then he realized a door behind the group creaked open. Jonah's mind raced to make sense of the chaotic clamor of feet and voices as the blinding light illuminated the room. He saw a figure standing there. Jonah. It was a woman familiar, yet lost in a haze of panic. The moment stalled, the world holding its breath. Every heartbeat echoed louder than the last. Jonah felt time seeping away. Who was she? Would she help? Was she friend or foe? A scream erupted from Claire, shattering the silence as chaos reignited. Jonah turned back to the unfolding mayhem, the shadows closing in, a cold knot of horror rising in his throat. "Run!" he bellowed, with a flash. A decision needed to be made as the lights flickered again, revealing what shadows hid. Jonah had seconds to act. And with the sound of hurried footsteps behind him, he had to ask, would they outrun the darkness, or become ensnared in this twisted game? As they surged forward, Jonah knew one truth: the real fight was just beginning. Jonah lunged for his daughters, adrenaline roaring in his veins as his instincts screamed for urgency. The air thickened with tension, the reality of the moment clawing at him, wrapping around his throat like a noose. The woman stood frozen in the doorway, panic etched on her face. Who was she? Did she have the power to help them? "Get out of here!" he shouted to her, desperate for her to understand. But instead of retreating, she took a step closer, eyes locked onto Jonah's, and hesitated. It was enough of a distraction. The men regrouped, snapping their attention back to Jonah. The leader, with that gleeful cruelty glinting in his eyes, stepped forward. "You're making a mistake, Jonah." Jonah's chest tightened as he felt a fresh wave of dread wash over him. How did they know his name? The realization sent ice flooding through his veins. They were not just threatening him, they were targeting his family. Before he could voice his objection, another dark figure emerged from the shadows, an older man with a violent gleam in his eye, one Jonah recognized too well from his past. He hadn't seen him in years, yet the memories flooded back like a dam bursting. "Just like your father," the new man smirked. "Always trying to play the hero." "Shut up!" Jonah roared, barreling toward him. The two collided, a flurry of fists and primal energy exchanging blows. But Jonah's focus was fractured, haunted by the laughter of the men and his daughter's terrified faces. "Dad!" Lisa's voice broke through, filled with panic. The world around Jonah spun in slow motion as he spotted one of the brutes lunging towards Claire, who had backed away toward the wall, her face pale. "Get away from her!" Jonah cried out. He pivoted sharply and shoved the man aside just as Claire stumbled, losing her balance. Jonah lunged forward, catching her with a breathless rush, but Claire's terrified gaze caught sight of the glowing stone in the man's hands, and Jonah's blood turned to ice. In that moment, the room buzzed with a disturbed energy, the air thick with anticipation for the violence that was about to unfold. "Do you really think you can escape?" the leader taunted, gesturing at the stones that glowed ominously. "You have no idea what you're fighting against. Those lights, they're not just power, they're a part of what we want." "What do you want?" Jonah demanded, his heart racing as he gripped Claire tightly. "Let's just say," the leader replied, lips curving into a smile that seemed to exude malice, "your little girls hold more potential than you've ever realized." Jonah's breath caught as he looked down at Claire and Lisa, confusion and fear mingling in their eyes. What kind of potential? There was a sudden explosion of sound as the woman from the door broke the spellbinding tension. "Stop!" You don't understand what you're messing with. She stepped forward, arms raised, as if she could halt the chaos. Jonah's gaze flickered back to her, searching for clues, but he felt unease surging. Stay back. One of the men shouted, waving the weapon toward her. Jonah's heart plummeted. This was spiraling out of control. Two forces were about to clash, and Jonah's family was caught in the middle. Jonah! The woman implored, but he didn't know if she was there to help or to betray. As screams erupted again, reigniting the chaos, Jonah realized the battle was far from over. Fight or run? He thought, staring at his daughters. His heart waged war against the fear that choked him, but he wouldn't run. Not anymore. As the voices of the men mixed with the cries of his girls, he made up his mind. They would fight. Grab onto me. He yelled, and with one final glance at the glowing stones, he knew this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about discovering the truth lurking inside the shadows, and whatever darkness they were up against was about to be unleashed. Would they be strong enough to confront whatever secrets awaited them, or was this just the beginning of something far worse? With a rush of resolve, Jonah tightened his grip on Claire and Lisa and thrust himself forward. Follow me. He shouted, darting past the chaos that crackled in the air like a thunderstorm. He could feel his heart racing, the fear pulsing within him was almost a living thing. They had to break through this nightmare that he edged his way through the shadows and darkness, instinctively seeking the narrow passageway that would lead them deeper into the mansion. The horrible laughter and angry shouts of the men were still echoing behind them, but Jonah blocked it out. All that mattered was shielding his girls from the horror they faced. Which way, Dad? Claire's voice quivered. The uncertainty mingled with the terror around them sharpened Jonah's focus. Just keep moving. He barked, keeping an unwavering demeanor to reassure them. They hugged the wall, urgency propelling them as they stumbled around corners, searching for an escape. Each breath felt labored under the weight of the moment. Jonah's mind burned with thoughts of safety, but then a voice taunted him in the distance, curling like smoke around his heart. Run all you want, Jonah. You can't hide from your past. The stones are ours. But Jonah couldn't worry about that now. They needed to reach the exterior, to breathe freely once more. But as they rounded another corner, they came to a small library filled with shadows that seemed to reach out menacingly from the shelves. In here. He urged, pulling them inside. The door closed behind them with a heavy thud, blocking out the oppressive noise, but the atmosphere inside was thick and still. Jonah turned, trying to catch his breath. He couldn't shake the sense that they were still being hunted, and the air in the room felt charged. What now? Lisa whimpered, her eyes wide and terrified. We can't stay here. We'll find a way out, Jonah assured, struggling to keep his voice strong. He scanned the room, racking his brain for a plan, when suddenly, Claire gasped. There, in the far corner, sat an old trunk. It looked ancient and forgotten, a remnant of some other time. Maybe there's something in there. She exclaimed, moving toward it. Claire, wait. But he hesitated. Mom had warned him never to open that trunk. Could this be whatever they'd been trying to keep hidden? Yet deep down, Jonah felt an unexplainable pull toward it, an undeniable connection. They had nothing left to lose. Claire reached for the latch, and Jonah stepped closer, cautiously guiding her hands. On 3, he said, feeling the anticipation bubble up. 1, 2, 3. With a creak, the trunk opened. Inside lay iridescent stones, shining like small moons. The moonstone. It was magnificent, pulsing softly as if it had a heartbeat of its own. An incredible energy radiated from them, filling the air with warmth but also a sense of caution. This is what they want, Jonah realized, heart racing anew. This is the key. Claire gasped, gazing down at the stones. Do you think they really have power? Can they heal you? Jonah finished her thought, his voice thick with emotion. But as he studied the stones, the door rattled fiercely. Heavy footsteps thudded on the other side, the men closing in. "They found us." Lisa whimpered, her voice shrill with panic. Jonah felt a jolt of fear. They had to use the stones to protect themselves. "Claire, can you feel anything from them?" I think so. It feels warm, almost comforting, like it's alive." She stretched out her hand, and Jonah felt an overwhelming urge to join her. "We'll harness it together," he said, determination flooding his voice. "Let us do this." As they closed their eyes, Jonah could almost visualize the darkness retreating at the faint glow of the stones. In that moment of unity, a powerful surge erupted around them, illuminating the shadows as if the darkness itself were recoiling. The door burst open, and the figures surged in, but they were met with a dazzling wall of light. Jonah stood protectively in front of Claire and Lisa as the light shone brightly, pushing against the men with overwhelming force. "Get back!" one of them shouted, bewildered, but it was too late. The energy enveloped them, radiating like a shield, turning their hostility into fear. "Now!" Jonah yelled, grabbing Claire and Lisa, pushing them toward the escaping light. They rushed through the doorway, the unexpected burst of energy blocking their pursuers. Bursting back into the hallway, they raced for the exit, power coursing through Jonah's veins. The air felt alive around him, weaving it into hope and strength, drawing back with every step from the shadows that had once consumed them. "Run!" Jonah shouted one last time, all three racing toward salvation. They burst through the front doors, tumbling into the moonlight, gasping breaths mingled with a renewed sense of courage that flooded Jonah's heart. They had faced the darkness, and against all odds, they had found a flicker of healing. "Are we safe?" Lisa whispered, looking up at Jonah. With the moonstone pulsating in his pocket, Jonah smiled, feeling the warmth spread through him. "For now, yes. But we can't stop fighting," he replied, determination gleaming in his eye. "Together, we'll face whatever comes next." Under the moon's watchful gaze, they took a breath together, stronger than ever before. The mansion loomed behind them, symbolic of their fears, the past and unknowns yet to be faced. But tonight, they were free. If you want to dive deeper into this world and follow us on the journey, subscribe immediately. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the exhilarating tales ahead. And do us a favor, smash that like button now. It feeds the algorithm and keeps the magic alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this breathtaking conclusion. What did you think of the Moonstone Secrets? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Be part of this incredible community.